Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wade, and in this video we're going to be talking about what Tom Lee had to say about the stock market for the month of November and how the election is going to be affecting your money.
It's an interesting time to get some perspective from our next guest, Tom Lee. It says be prepared for volatility. Tom is managing partner and head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors, as well as a CNBC contributor. Would you say towards the last time you were on, you talked about the Trump trade being pretty strong. A lot of things turned back, reversed. DJT reversed. Bitcoin didn't move into the mid-70s, got in the low 70s. I don't know whether the banks and other Trump trades changed, and all the betting markets certainly moderated late last week, came back a little bit. Do you have a change in your opinion on the election now?
Well, it does seem like over the last 4 or 5 days, the election really narrowed when you look at betting markets or the polls. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily trust polls, but I think the quality and the adjustments to the polls have made them more accurate. So I think it is really a toss-up, and it's going to be a very close election. And something our clients are preparing for, because we did a survey last week, 76% don't think we'll have a winner declared election night. And 43% roughly expected 1 week after. So I think markets are kind of bracing for this period of uncertainty. I think that's why many of the trades have reversed.
I would say I agree with Tom Lee here 100%. This election is a tight race. Even though you think a particular candidate could be winning, this is going to come down to the wire like it has been the last few elections that we have witnessed.
We've also heard about some of the trading houses that are not going to be putting any software updates in this week, even some people who want to be here rather than overseas to make sure they're closer on the ground to see what happens too.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a week where there's going to be a lot of worry. One thing I was thinking about over the weekend, though, is I think the market's fear of uncertainty will peak before, it's very likely it peaks before the election outcome's actually decided.
These signals that we've been looking at, one of the things, I don't know if you read about it, and I think we talked about it during commercial break last week, one of the things that's happened in the polls is the view that there's a lot more women going to vote than before. But that these signals, whether it be Bitcoin or whether it be DJT stock or whether it be the betting markets, may also all be off, if this is true, on the assumption that actually there is a very small percentage of the people in the betting markets who are women, for example. There's a very small percentage of people who are women who actually trade in Bitcoin, not who own Bitcoin, but who trade in Bitcoin. Very small group of women who are trading in DJT stock. What do you think of that?
I think there's some credence to that, just because we know, like when you look at the Iowa polls, it was really the senior women voters that changed a lot. And you're right, these markets can be narrow, and they're very responsive to changes in liquidity. And I think it's a very tight race. I mean, it's going to be very close. I think anyone who thinks that they know who's going to win is really playing with fate, because I think it's a very tight race.
Yeah.
It's interesting from when polls close too, because we've got, there's a couple here. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia are all East Coast. So, if you have some definitive answers, they also, supposedly Virginia and New Hampshire are closer than people in the Harris camp would like, so there could be surprises early on.
Just wonder how long it takes when you have so many more people who have voted early or mail-in votes too. Those take longer to tally. So you might just by default be
like last time.
Yeah. I actually voted last week, and I actually had to wait for a lot of people. Turnout is really what's going to swing this election.
And then there's a number of states, obviously, that, by the way, get the early votes and then don't begin to tally them afterwards. And for all sorts of reasons that I would raise some real questions about why they're not tallying them early.
Kind of a bummer when we see it.
Sometimes it's written into state legislation.
No, I understand that, but there's a view among those who are cynical about that they're not counting them until after, so that. And
there are we've seen it.
Except for what if
there's other countries that know by the end of the day. There's other countries that know that night, and they've been talking to, we're like a little bit envious looking around.
Yeah, you should be able to count.
Here's the problem. If they were counting them early and it was some secret, because you wouldn't want them releasing what the vote count was early, What if it got out? I mean, that's the problem with starting the count early.
I have not heard that as the explanation for
No,
it,
I'm just
and it's
raising the
only
question.
red states that have done this. So you can think whatever you want to think about that.
So
what do you think the market-
other than this, other than the election, because the elections, that's sort of what you hear about Wall Street. Elections don't really matter anyway. So if it is gridlock, which we don't know, but more likely, I think the odds are on that too. So you're still bullish.
Yeah, I'm bullish only in the sense that election uncertainty has caused people to de-risk and cash to sit on the sidelines, but the fundamentals have been good. Earnings season's been very good. The Fed is dovish, and I don't think it's going to matter who ends up in the White House. Even if it's split Congress or a sweep, I think markets do pretty well either way. So it sets up for a really good rally into year end. But when it starts in November is just what we don't know.
No. So when you look at we were talking about what Buffett's thinking with Apple or what he's thinking with banking. I mean, that you take Apple and a leading financial, and that covers a pretty big range of the markets. And Andrew thinks he's building an arc. Could you really? That wouldn't work. There's too many species to bring on there with him.
I'm just saying he's building a cash arc.
Cash arc.
An arc out of cash or something. Or is that what he's doing? He may be doing something else. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know part of it is he's anticipating capital gains taxes could change, so he's taking those gains now. And he's not necessarily having a big cost of money because he's earning 5%. But next year, the cost of money is going to drop, so he'll have some pressure to deploy it.
That's all for the video, folks. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I also want you to comment down below on who you think will win the election.